If you're having ghost problems, I feel bad for you, son. I've got 99 problems, but a ghost ain't one. The horrors be out there, but I'm prepared. I got my flashlight, so I'm not scared. No ghosts. Stupid motherfuckers. Not scared of the ghosts. They're stupid motherfuckers. Not scared of the ghoulies. Stupid motherfuckers. Not scared of the horrors. Stupid motherfuckers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Now? Episode 3. It's episode 3 of this Magnus Archives.
Doing, podcaster?
I'm doing a podcast. Hello.
No.
I didn't invite you to be a guest on today's episode.
There has never been a podcast here.
No, there has been a podcast. I promise you. I can look at the backlog of episodes. We are a Magnus Archives review podcast.
Wow, you were just going to talk straight over the horror.
Yeah, I mean... If I don't recognize its power, it has to leave, right? Surely that's how it works.
No, absolutely. I kind of thought you were going to be like, hey, Kat, could you come help me? And then I was going to do there has never been a wife.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
who is this made-up woman you've been talking to this whole time?
There has never been a wife. So we have officially decided to name this series after the name that you chose. What Now? This is the 3rd episode. We are reviewing the Magnus Archives. We are 2 blind people going in. We're not blind, but you know what I mean?
We're blind to the path this story is going to take.
Yes. We know a very general spoiler thanks to Haley Whipjacks, Would You Survive the Magnus Archives? I feel like we're going to get that information somewhat soon from these episodes. So this episode, we're going to be covering episodes 41 through 60, which are the first half of season 2.
Yes, absolutely. As always, I am your host, Kat, and I am definitely, I've got dibs on me.
Oh.
And it's the hunt, so I'm gonna hunt a bunch of stuff, and nothing else can try to eat me, and that is how I plan to survive the horrors. Who are you?
You shout, I am yours, as people shoot you with paintball guns.
Yeah.
My name is Joel, I'm your co-host, and also, I decided to go into this room in the basement that I didn't know was there.
Why?
The cat went in there. I was like, oh, if the cat's going, there.
Cat.
So, anyways, this liminal space seems to only have pictures of cats, of the same cat, just repeating forever and ever, and it's just like my camera reel on my phone, for real, but I've actually been here for, 4 days, and I think eventually I'm just gonna have to, let myself starve, and hopefully that will wake me up from this liminal space.
Dang, interesting that this cat horror could cure your diabetes, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very thoughtful of it.
Absolutely. So, originally, when I proposed we record our thoughts on the Magnus Archives, one of the reasons that I split season 1 into the first 20 episodes and the second 20 episodes...
It's bite-sized chunks. Sorry, go on.
What did you say?
It's bite-sized chunks. It's easier to talk about 20 episodes than 40 episodes.
It is bite-sized chunks, that's true. But episodes 19 and 20 felt like a mid-season finale. And we didn't really get anything like that in this chunk of episodes.
I'm allowed to interject. This is a podcast with 2 people on
Absolutely, yeah, but bold of you to just have opinions while I'm talking. But yeah, okay, you disagree. Go ahead.
So in this season, if you are completely blind to this podcast and you're just listening to the Magnus Archive podcast and you're just listening because you like to hear me and Kat yap about stuff, this season has introduced supplemental recording. So at the end of every episode, after John has given his remarks about, I didn't think that cars could suddenly burst into flames, there will be a pause and he'll be supplemental, and he'll talk about something. And episode 60's supplemental was everyone finally talking to him and staging an intervention to be like, could you please stop being such a paranoid weirdo? And his response to that was, I guess I should probably be more of a paranoid weirdo. So
yeah.
I feel like that is a sharp, that is a direction, that's a decision point where he could have either listened to the intervention or he could have defied it, and he chose defiance.
Yeah, absolutely. One other funny thought before we get into our succinct summaries, somebody listened to our first episode, and they sent me a message and they said, why is your podcast called that? Is it just about the Magnus Archives? And I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. And then I had to explain all of the variations of the What Now franchise.
I see. Okay.
At this point, our own personal lore is as twisty as the FNAF lore.
That is not true. There is no one that could be argued as to whether or not they actually existed on this podcast. We have receipts for all of them. There has never been a Curtis.
I was about to say, I don't know about Curtis. All right. Do you want to do the same rapid fire from memory description of each episode that you did?
Oh, from memory. Yes, I think that I will. But, okay, it's not completely from memory. We do have a sheet where we're keeping track of all of this stuff, and I have the episode titles, because there's no way I'm going to be able to remember, like, 45 was the one with the guy at midnight or whatever.
Absolutely.
All right. Here we go. Let's see how quickly I can summarize these. Episode 41, Too Deep. John talks about exploring the spooky caves underneath Magnus Archives. Episode 42, Grifter's Bone. This awful music is the last thing you'll ever hear. Episode 31, turns out there's some police people who investigate the kind of spooky things that are going on, but they don't call them spooky. Episode 44, A Creepy Russian Circus. Episode 45, Mosquitoes. Ah! Episode 46, a guy who works at a bookshop runs into Michael Crew. I almost called him Michael Key. I'm getting names mixed up. Michael Crew.
That's where you pulled the name Michael from earlier.
Yeah, because there's two Michaels. 47, The New Door. A woman enters a door and finds there's more door than meets the eye.
A woman enters a door, and then door, and is in a door.
Absolutely. The O in door is actually a portal that takes you to a smaller door inside of it. Episode 48, Lost in the Crowd. A woman gets trapped in a supernatural crowd. Episode 49, The Butcher's Window. Do you remember Jared Hopsworth? He's back. He's this weird freaking meat monster now.
You telling me a bone turned this tale?
Episode 50, Foundations. Another haunted architect. Are you kidding? Episode 51, High Pressure. Is this the one? Yes. A deep sea dive quickly turns into the horrors. Episode 52, Exceptional Risk. Do you remember the serial killer dad from last season? Serial killer dad gets his own episode, except it's the prison guard that is reporting on what the happened. Episode 53, a World War II vet. I almost called him World War I. That was last season when we had the World War I guy. A World War II vet discovers what appears to be a proto-version of the Magnus Archives. Episode 54, Still Life. Does taxidermy creep you out? Because it certainly creeps them out. Episode 55, Pest Control. A man goes on a bunch of bug extermination journeys, and they're all spooky, or at least the ones he's talking about are spooky.
Can I do this one?
Sure.
Okay, episode 55, Pest Control. Hi, I'm Ants in My Eyes Johnson.
Except he never got the ants in his eyes, but yes.
Thank God.
Episode 56, do you remember Trevor, the guy who was a vampire hunter?
He's dead, isn't he?
He's not dead, and
What?
he's talking about another type of creature he ran into. Episode 57, Personal Space. Someone goes into a space station and loses their goddamn minds. Episode 58, Trail Rations. Have you heard of the Donner Party or Yellow Jackets or anything like that? That's what this is. It's from the 1800s, I think. Yes, 1845. Episode 59, Recluse. Do you remember the hilltop house that was a wayward house that had Raymond Fielding, and Agnes the creepy ghost girl? Well, turns out there's more stories from the Hilltop Manor. Episode 60, Observer Effect. Something is watching you.
Look behind you.
Look behind you. Look behind you. Really quick shout out to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but really fast, Part 4. It is fantastic. Everything that they do is fantastic, but 4 is amazing.
Absolutely.
Now, as I said, there's also a supplemental to each of these episodes that's kind of an ongoing story. I'm not going to go through every single episode because some of them are honestly nothing, but more or less, John is now paranoid because he's certain that someone here killed Gertrude Robinson, and he's trying to figure out who. He investigates Elias, he investigates Sasha, he investigates Martin, he investigates Tim. Sasha is acting weird, she's going to a wax museum, he doesn't know what that's about. Elias has a shady past. Tim joined the Magnus Archives for apparently no reason, and two things that make Martin suspicious is he threw away a letter that John found that said, I can't tell, I hope they don't find out that I'm lying, and he's
Which is
like
a crazy suspicious thing to just put in a letter.
Right, exactly. A letter to his mom, by the way. But the other thing that makes Martin highly, highly suspicious is that he's concerned for John's well-being. That's not something a normal person would do.
Look, I'm immediately suspicious of someone who's like, are you sure you're okay? So, I get it.
Do you remember how...
John's not well.
Do you remember when we talked about the priest episode and you're like, oh, he's an unreliable narrator and that's what makes the story so good? We are not getting Martin's tales of events of him looking after John. All we've seen him do is like, John, would you like some tea? Would you like to go to the sandwich shop? And John is just like, he's always on my back. He's going to turn me in. I'm pretty sure that he has a gun. He's coming for me.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it's literally just John in a downward spiral. We cannot go through every note that we sent to each other while we were going through these episodes, but let me find under miscellaneous notes for episode 41, Catherine sent, not John on a literal downward spiral, lol. And one of these other ones has something like, episode 54, Catherine, John is losing it. He's not having a good time.
I'm worried about my head archivist, man. And the downward spiral episode, to give some context, is he was exploring the caves that they found Gertrude in, and it just like spiraled.
It was a literal
downward.
spiral, yeah, but it's also metaphorical.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a pretty good summary so far.
One more thing that I should note is, remember that Gertrude Robinson was found, previous head archivist of the Magnus Archives, she was found with tapes around her body, and because John has now met someone who has access to those tapes in a limited capacity, we now get occasional episodes of recordings from Gertrude herself. And obviously, since she died in, 2015... I mean, I guess she could have some more recent statements from, 2013, but a lot of her statements are from much earlier, the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
We've got 2 of those so far.
Now, I have to ask, what do you think of the conceit of this season, with John recording supplementary notes at the end of each of his actual recordings? Because, to me, it doesn't feel diegetic. Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he just keep a tape diary? Why would they be attached to the statements?
Well, I believe he says that he has 2 different sets of tapes, 2 recorders, so he's recording some of them on separate tapes. We just hear them as one because of the meta-narrative. Because,
gotcha. See, what I understood from what he explained was, I'm recording these one time, and then I'm recording them again, and then my supplemental notes with them. And I didn't understand why, because the supplemental isn't often connected to what was actually in the episode.
Yeah. Well, the Gertrude episodes, he has a supplemental to be like, didn't learn anything about Gertrude, but I learned a lot more about the world.
Why did Gertrude know so much about what was going on? Is that why she died? Yes, John. Have you not figured out that whatever these things are, they don't want the Magnus Institute to know things?
It is incredible, and I mean, I think this happens because we are third-party observers to the situation. It's like in a horror, when you're like, obviously don't go into that room, you're obviously going to die, but we were shown a camera angle that made us suspicious of what's in that room. The dumbass characters are just trying to find a power generator, and there might be one in that room with all of the knives. So I think that part of it is that we are observers, and we can say, come on, man, that's really stupid. We're not actually being affected by the horrors, but I think that it's really strange how little John picks up on, especially since he has the recorded statements that he could listen back to, right? Jane Prentice said, spiders have their own song, and he mentions going down in the caves and there were more cobwebs. Connect those 2, John. Connect those 2.
Well, and that's the thing, too, right? Is, I assumed he was smart because he was judgmental and had a British accent. But I think he might just be organized rather than having the connect the pieces juice.
And if you remember from season 1, Elias had a comment to, I think, Sasha, because I don't think he talked to Tim, where he said, sometimes I think that John is worse than Martin, and so, maybe he puts on this face of being, a proper professor, but actually it's just a guy who's, super scared of the spooky or whatever.
Oh my gosh, he's an autistic ace king. He's just masking all the way down. Masking his fear, masking his inadequacies. Oh man, I love this guy. Okay. And then the other question, which kind of goes along with what do you think of the supplementals being at the end of the episodes? Does it flow well for you? Is what do you think of the Gertrude tapes being included? Do you like it?
I love the Gertrude tapes being included.
I like Gertrude.
Yeah? Gertrude seems really cool. I think that both the supplemental and the Gertrude tapes come from the point of view of a meta-narrative in the Season 1 Q&A, Johnny, who's the writer and also the one who plays Jonathan Sims. But Johnny said that he doesn't want to lose track of the mystery. He doesn't want the mystery to be bad, but he also doesn't want it to become entirely focused on the mystery. He still wants it to be an episodic horror. So I think having Gertrude there to give us more hints about the past, and having the supplemental to show us what the meta-narrative is, it handily allows most episodes to be standalone, sort of, but also it gives us the meta-narrative that people like me crave. Like, if it didn't have a meta-narrative, I don't think I would be listening.
Yeah, well, and John being on this paranoid downward spiral gives a really good diegetic explanation for why everything is getting recorded.
Right.
One problem that I tend to have with podcasts like this, right, is that if you start with a conceit like, this is a therapist recording their session notes, then later when you get out of that and other things are being recorded, like, as the listener, I need a reason why. Why are you recording these things? It doesn't make any sense. It's not connected to that other thing.
You need FNAF to always be on the security monitors. You don't want to, like, free roam and look around.
No, listen, not always. I just feel like if you have an opportunity to do classic FNAF, you should use it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think this is being handled pretty well. And like I said, I'm attached to Gertrude. I like her a lot.
Gertrude is, I found this out from a comment on our first episode, voiced by the real-life Johnny's mom.
Which
is fantastic.
Cute.
Yes.
I love that.
This point in our outline of the episode is also labeled General Impressions, and here's a note. It feels like this season really is trying quite hard to be the sequel to Season 1 in an almost literal sense. So John explores the caves. It's obviously a direct sequel to them ending up in the caves in episode 39 or whatever it was. Grifter's Bone's unconnected anything, but Section 31 has crossover with Gertrude Robinson and crossovers with some of the other episodes, so it's almost more of a prequel episode. Creepier Russian Circus, it has the organist from Strange Music. Mosquitoes feels like the Fly episode because it has to do with disease and it has to do with that kind of a thing. Literary Heights has Michael Crew. So yeah, a lot of these episodes feel like they are directly related to stuff from last season, and some of them are literally directly related. We get Trevor back, we get Jared Hopsworth back, we get more stuff about Prentice before she became Bug Lady.
Key is here.
Yeah.
He's always here. I want a Magnus Archives spin-off podcast about this Suicide Squad with Trevor the Vampire Hunter and Gerard Key and Michael Crew and that lady with the scar.
Oh yeah, people call her Daisy. I don't remember what her real name is, but that's apparently her nickname.
Amazing. The cop from Section 31.
Yeah.
Like, this is my Suicide Squad crew. And they're just out there throwing hands with the horrors.
Do you think that Michael Crew is anti-horrors?
No, but yes. Okay, so the thing about a Suicide Squad is a lot of the times the people are selfish, right?
Right.
Like, they're not in it because they care about saving the world or whatever, and we'll get to it when we discuss his episode, but Michael Crew is in it to save himself.
Well, he absolutely is, but I think that once you tell the horrors, I am yours, I don't think there's any going back. I think that you kind of have to serve them. And in fact, I have a theory from these episodes that the people who end up becoming part of the horrors, the Bone Turner, oh my gosh, why is my brain doing this? Jane Prentice, John Amherst, we first heard him in the elderly home episode.
Taken ill.
They seem to get really upset if people get in the way, and that might just be because their special interest is disease or worms or meat, but I also think that they are literally like, the horrors have their heart in the horror's hands, and if they don't deliver enough meat, enough bones, enough worms, enough ants, enough disease, their heart will explode. And I think that they're actually literally afraid of being caught by the Magnus Archives because it would actually mean death.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
No, I think that's a great theory, but that's all the more reason for Michael's Crew to be on my Suicide Squad. Like, he has to contribute to his horror, but also he's kind of like sidestepping it by defeating all these other horrors.
Oh, yeah, because a war is coming, and if he's able to weaken the other sides, then he's doing something good for his master.
Do you even know a war is coming? We should talk about that, but we'll get to it. You know what was nice about this chunk of episodes?
What's that?
I don't feel like any of them were particularly disgusting.
Yeah, hang on, let me go through I think Bloodbag was trying to be disgusting, that's the mosquitoes one, but they really... If you did not like mosquitoes in the first place, this episode would be very effective. But I think that if you, like I said in one of our earlier episodes, are able to let certain things just kind of bounce off your head and not really think about it, it wasn't disgusting. And it wasn't as disgusting as diseases everywhere. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be an episode that's as bad as that.
Yeah, well, and like, for all of my sensitive stomach dislike of bodily fluids, blood doesn't actually bother me. So them being like, the bag was like skin and then there was real blood in the bag, it's like, okay. That's cool. Blood exists. I've got some in me. You've got some in you. I don't know why I can't apply that to, like, spit or whatever, but not scared of blood. And then, for me, the idea of thousands of mosquitoes eating one person alive is almost comical. And I think it's because it seems so unlikely.
Sure.
That it didn't give me the same vibe as if they had been like, and then he fell in the spiders.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's very unlikely that you're going to fall into a pit of spiders as well.
Well, yeah, but, like, I don't know. Mosquitoes fly... I don't know. I don't know. I'm imagining, like, if there were a bunch of spiders crawling on you, you wouldn't know if you got them all. They could be anywhere. I'm giving myself the skin crawlies just imagining it. But, like, for some reason, I just don't feel that with mosquitoes. Like,
okay. Yeah, I mean, hey, we've talked about it. Some of these episodes are going to be more effective for some people rather than others. I don't think the mosquitoes episode got me, but I think that I am able to close my eyes and picture it really hard and understand why someone might be grossed out or frustrated or upset.
Yeah.
Not frustrated.
Do you remember last episode when I said I had a friend who says that horror is a genre made of themes and aesthetic?
Yeah, and I had no idea what that meant. Still don't.
It means it's vibes-based, man. She clarified, because we were talking about a horror book that we both really liked, and I was like, I didn't really class it as horror, and she did, because of the themes and aesthetic. And she was like, the reason that I don't believe horror has to be scary is that what is scary is different depending on who you are. So even though none of these episodes directly scared me, it's still a horror podcast.
Okay, sure. Is Batman technically horror by themes and aesthetics?
I don't think so.
A man fell into a vat of acid and got his skin permanently bleached.
You know what? She listens to this podcast now, so I'm sure she'll let us know.
Okay, yeah. Let us know if Batman is horror, and is Batman, it's not 69. That'd be a really funny... There's a specific year of Batman that was the silly year, and I believe that it was the Adam West movie that was, like, the first entry in it, and they made a comic decades later, like 10 years ago. It was like Batman 76 or whatever, and it is supposed to be camp. It's like Batman challenges Joker to a push-up off, right? Instead of Joker's gonna stab that kid or something. It's much more comical. Anyways.
I see. Yes, of course. The Bat of 87. But yes, I'm sure she'll let us know. Also, I usually like to credit our notes from fellow archivists with, like, their name, but her username is not appropriate for me to say on this podcast, so... Unfortunately,
the brain rot has reached a terminal stage in his head, and I will censor that out, but unfortunately it means that she's just going to give herself a name that you can't call her.
Absolutely. All right, is there anything else you wanted to say about general impressions, or were there any episodes you wanted to call out as, like, you did think it was particularly disgusting?
Let me double check. Obviously, anything with bugs, as I covered in the last 2 episodes, I don't necessarily really like. And so there's the pest control episode that... The pest control episode is actually not as bad as I thought it was, because there was one that was ants. I literally told you, like, don't listen to this episode until I've had a chance to listen, because it might freak you out. But it turns out it actually only kind of vaguely touches on ants, and then he goes, and that was one adventure that I had. But the way he described the car, like, already, like, sickly, like, falling apart and bubbling underneath it, and the way that John Amherst is, like, always sweaty, like, that's pretty gross and unsettling when you think about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But no, I think also the way that the Robert Montauk episode... I always thought his name was Montague because of the way that John talks. He has a British accent. What a silly accent for a person to have. It's Montauk. But that episode had a one element that was like, but we'll get there when we talk about it. I'm sure we'll want to.
Absolutely, yeah. I think somebody sat Johnny down and went, Johnny, this is an intervention. No more disgusting episodes this season, please. I think that's what happened, and that's why he's toned down the bugs. They were like, we know that you know the order and phylum and whatever of all of the bugs, but let's bring it back a step. let's focus on some other things.
Absolutely.
All right. What episodes did you find particularly scary this season? Or unsettling?
I know you're going to disagree with me. You're going to be like, that sounds like the perfect existence to me. The guy being stuck in space. It's not being alone. It's being alone and not understanding why, and also the creeping feeling that, like, the people who sent you there kind of sent you there to die, and it's the fact that, like, the Earth disappeared and stuff like that. There's a lot to it that was very, like, oh my gosh.
I will say, I think the most unsettling moment from that episode is when the empty spacesuit drifted by.
Yes.
Like, what was that about?
To give more details about this episode, 3 people are sent up to the space station Daedalus. A lot of the historical figures in these episodes are real historical figures, so it wouldn't surprise me if the Daedalus is a real ship. It might not be. He's sent up to do an isolation experiment, and if you remember episode 1, there's an empty graveyard dimension that feeds off of your loneliness. And so he's already... the horrors are already coming for him. And at some point, he just gets stuck in a liminal space where he cannot get out of the room that he's in. The Earth disappears, and at one point, a empty astronaut suit just kind of floats by. And, Kat, why don't you tell people how he escaped the horrors?
He tried to starve himself to death. He just stopped eating until he passed out.
Yes. I don't think he was trying to die. I just think he was so apathetic that he let it happen, but ultimately he lost the will to live, and then he woke up because it turns out if you die in the horrors, you don't die in real life, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to eat somebody who's not afraid because they've accepted death.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought that he had said that he had decided to starve himself to death so he wouldn't be alone in space anymore, but I could be wrong. I got a detail wrong last recording. I thought that the haunted circus thing was from like the 1850s, and it was not. It was from the 1950s. So the implication was not that Grandpa was immortal. I was wrong and Joel was right.
This isn't about who's right or wrong. I misremember things as well. But he escapes by starving himself to death, whether he was trying to die or whether he just got so depressed that he couldn't. Who knows? What did you think of that episode?
I have mixed thoughts, because I think that there's a lot of interesting lore to unpack there. Who owns the satellite company, and what are they doing? And they're working together. That's odd. But overall, the story did not grip me. And the main character was not... I wasn't like, I want you to survive, or I want you to die. I was just like, yep, you're sitting in a space station.
Have you had people before where you're like, I want you to die? In this series?
The gangster, maybe. The one who was I've killed people, you can't tell the law.
Yeah, I was not particularly fond of the private detective from the new Butcher episode, Butcher's Window, and I also was not a fan of the prison guard. I think that they captured what it's like to be the kind of asshole who would revel in being a prison guard and have power over people.
I'm really excited to talk about those episodes, actually.
Yeah. Could I really quickly... we have this list of what we're going to talk about in a specific order, but I kind of want to talk a little bit more about some overarching stuff so that when I reference it, our listeners can be like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, sure, man. Let's do it. But this is our podcast. We can do it in whatever order we want.
Absolutely. So we already have Gerard Key, the Key family, as an important family. But Ohana means hunting the horrors. But... we know that Gerard Key is an important character. He seems to have some connection to the books, the Leitner books. He showed up in that episode of the woman who got trapped in a supernatural crowd, and he basically saved her. He says, like, I was on vacation, I'm annoyed that I have to help, quote-unquote, this stray, but is there anyone in your life that you care about that you're close to? And she's like, I guess my mom. And he goes, good, think of your mom. And then when she gets trapped in the crowd, she thinks of her mom and she escapes. So Gerard Key seems to maybe potentially be anti-horror?
This is important.
Yeah.
So this comes up in the Trevor episode too. But if you are connected to one of the horrors, you can sense other things that are connected to other horrors.
Yeah?
That's why Trevor could hunt vampires, and it's why I think Gerard Key noticed her. Because he was like, heck, she's been marked. She's going to get eaten.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we know he's given himself over to whatever the I one is because of all his little tattoos.
That's right. I wonder if the I one is a good character, maybe. Because, now look, okay, the Someone Is Watching You episode 60, I only remember the number because it was the last one of these ones, it definitely showed a woman losing her mind because she's being watched. But the hospital episode also chose Beholding, and she said that she felt like she was being watched, but it didn't affect her psychology in any way. We know Gertrude didn't like eyes. John has a sense of being watched or whatever, so I think that it feels like the eye is not always malicious, but it can be.
None of the horrors are good, but I think there's a range, right? There's I'm going to create this very minor psychological disturbance and feed off of the fear that produces. That seems to be whatever the eye horror is. And then there's, I'm just gonna and eat people. And that's the hunt, right? So we've got a range there. What else do you want to touch on?
I also want to touch on spiders appear to be one of the overarching big bads from this season.
Wow,
possibly.
You stole my predictions, Thunder. I was going to bring that up later. Everybody's going to think it was your idea now.
It was not. I can show the text messages of Kat saying that they seem to be the big thing. What's interesting is you sent a message at one point that said they gave John the spider, the lighter, so is he marked by the spiders? Are the spiders going to eat him? And I thought that was very interesting because my immediate thought when he was given a lighter that had a spider on it is the spider wants to be his friend. It doesn't want to eat him. It's trying to protect him from the bugs. Now, that might not be true. The spider might be a long-term thinker as opposed to the meat monster that just wants to eat you or whatever. But I think that the spider has long-term plans, and keeping John alive was part of that. But Michael McTwisty also indicated that he interfered in order to help John because it might tip the scales too soon if the Magnus Archives went bye-bye tomorrow. Okay, but the reason I brought up the spiders being important is because we find out that the strange table that first showed up in episode 3 across the street, it's actually related to spiders, which is weird because I thought it was fractals. We don't officially know what the fractal monster is called. I think Michael is of the fractals. He's the big fractal boss.
Hence, Twisty.
Michael McTwisty. But Sasha says that she thought that the table reminded her of a spider web. And then we get another character from the Hilltop House who says, it always made me think of a web that if you could follow the lines, you would find some great truth at the center. And Raymond Fielding is of the spiders. So apparently this table that I thought was of like either the fractals or the body snatchers, nah. It's spiders.
Which means that Sasha is spiders now.
Maybe?
So it's possible the lighter will be used to defeat the spider in some way. And I do have ideas about that.
Wait, hang on. So you're saying that the spider gave John a lighter that he's going to use to kill the spider?
No. I'm saying that there's two possibilities with the lighter. One is that the spider gave it to him, and by accepting it, he's, like, under the spider's power now, so it's
a mob boss. He went to the Falcones or whatever.
It's easier for the spider to get him. Number 2 is that somebody else gave him the spider lighter, and that's going to be used to defeat the spider because that other thing is also not ready for the spiders to make their move.
Please don't call it the spider lighter. Call it by its Christian name, the spider. Spighther.
Absolutely.
Don't spell it, you idiot. That ruins the joke.
No, I mean, this is an audio format. People need you to spell things out for them. Also, third option, that was the writers subtly telling us that the spider is connected to the table because the lighter and the table arrived at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
definitely
just
did.
Meta. It's not anything.
Yes.
But the spiders are flammable, and I have thoughts on that.
Last episode, we talked about how there seems to be 13, maybe 14 horrors. And I'm trying not to let future knowledge color that. The thing is that there were 14 passages there were 14 passages underground, and we know that at least one of them was haunted, but I'm wondering if any of them were a normal hallway you could just walk down, not associated with any entities. But I came up with a list of like, okay, look, these 3 episodes all had fire in them, so maybe there's a fire demon horror. There was one that did not fit with the other horrors. The werewolf man. I was like, is that the body snatchers? Like, it's like body horror, like people that replace you and or having weird bodies. But in this episode, in these sets of episodes, Trevor, the vampire hunter, he gave us a key word. He gave us the Pee-wee's word that you say and, like, it makes the balloons fall from the ceiling. He used the word hunt a lot. And now that the show has grabbed you by the shirt collar and said hunt is a keyword, well, now I immediately know what the werewolf was because that's the word that came up a lot in that episode as well.
Absolutely, yes. Hence the reference to the hunt earlier in this episode.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So,
let's see. Simon Fairchild. We know Simon Fairchild is related to the skydiving episode. He's literally named, and John says, Simon Fairchild, that's strange. But he shows up a couple more times. He shows up in the Deep Sea episode. Skies, Deep Sea. He called it Enjoy the Sky Blue. Water is associated with blueness. We find out that there is, Michael Crew gives himself to the sky monster, and one of the things he shouts, he's speaking a bunch of different languages, is the vast. And Simon Fairchild also was one of the 3 big names that helped do the Daedalus experiment. So, I don't know what we should call it. Maybe. We already know what to call it, but I'm just going to call it the Big Sky Demon.
okay.
So,
and wet.
well, it's the big space demon. It's like big open area demon. And that area could be filled with water, but there's nothing else around. And then there's the big open space, and then there's the big open sky. Is that related to loneliness? Maybe.
Didn't he say something weird in the Big Wet episode, too?
But the diver didn't hear what it was. It was like, yeah, Simon Fairchild shouted something at me, but I didn't hear what it was.
Do you think maybe that's why she didn't die? Because she didn't hear it?
She didn't die because she poked herself on the ship's hull, and the pain brought her out of it. But if you remember Ex Altiori, it turns out that book was actually describing the big monster. It's a story about a village that is like, oh, there's a monster coming, and it's pretty big, we should prepare. But every time they finished their preparations, they'd look over, and the monster would be even bigger, and they'd be like, we got to do even more preparations. And eventually it got so close and was so vast that they just all threw themselves into the sea and died. So apparently that's the origin story of the sky monster. Just this giant thing.
Also, when Michael gave himself to the sky monster, he disappeared. But his fractal scars being in the book indicates he's in the book, I guess?
Yes. So, not fractal scars, but yeah, like lightning cross-stitch or something.
There's a specific name for the pattern. I think it's like Lichter scars or something.
Yeah, okay.
But they are fractals. Like, have you ever looked at a lightning pattern? It is a big thing that gets smaller.
That's fair.
Smaller.
I just don't think that it's related to the fractal.
You don't want me to say
so
fractal with a capital F.
Yes.
I understand, Brandon Sanderson. We also have a section in our notes just marked lore, if that's what we're doing.
Do we have a section marked lore?
In our notes for the episode, yeah.
Huh.
See?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So let's look at some of these notes that I believe you wrote most of these down. We could kind of alternate some of them. We learned some very important pieces of information from these episodes. Lore number 1. Michael is the Lost in Mazes entity. He's not of the spider. The reason we know this is because Not Sasha lies to John and then leaves the room, and as she's leaving, Michael shows up and says, she's lying to you. He would not out his own soldier like that.
Yes, Michael says they're lying to you.
Maybe.
So important to note that all of the entities are they, them.
Yeah, maybe. Do you think Sasha is their entity? Okay, they're not the queen the way that Michael McTwisty is the king of his.
Exactly, yeah. But no, we know that he's connected to this maze thing from the episode about the realtor who got lost going through a door. And in that episode, he says some very interesting things to John about, like, what he is. One of my favorite lines is John says, "Is Michael your real name?" And he goes, "There are no real names. Yep. What are you talking about?"
John asked him if he owns the forever recursive hallways, and Michael's like, "Does your thumb own your stomach or whatever?" So the horrors do not perceive themselves in a way that we would recognize. Yep. That's why he told Sasha in the first episode he showed up in, like, "I'm sorry, I don't know how to describe myself." Like, that's just, I don't know.
Yes, I really liked the line when he goes, "I am not a who, archivist, I am a what."
Yes, he had a very, I don't know if this is true, actually, because I haven't seen him in anything, but he has a very Mr. Mexaplex kind of vibe to him. You know, I'm from another dimension, I'm going to with you because it passes the time.
I'm a silly, goofy guy.
A silly, goofy guy. What other lore did we learn?
So we talked about the table already, but it's not fractals, it's not a Michael thing. So It's related to not Sasha and the spiders.
Okay. Lore number 3, we had 2 different spider things this episode, this set of episodes. Really important spider things. Number 1 is Children of the Night, the second Trevor episode. He's hunting a monster that has the shape of a human, and he knows is not a vampire because its rules work differently. But he cuts it open in the stomach. He was trying to like warn it off, I think, or something.
And
but
he tripped and he got too deep.
He cut too deeply, and it was just a sack full of spiders, and all the spiders fell out, and then the sack was just kind of left in this like humanish kind of state. Okay. And then we also got the episode Recluse, which is about Raymond Fielding. He could draw people into his basement, and then he would wrap them in spider webs, and then they would become spider sacks, which is super duper gross. But what we learned from those 2 instances is that spiders seem to have some kind of psychic ability to make you want things. But pain can break you out of it, or you can train yourself to kind of resist it. Somehow Trevor did that. He trained himself to resist.
I think Trevor is claimed already. So It doesn't work on him. I think he's claimed by the hunt entity. Because he talked about how addictive the hunt for vampires had become for him and how he needed it.
Yeah, he killed a regular-ass human dude because he was so desperate for the high that comes from hunting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to touch on spiders really quick since we're kind of stuck in there. This is something clever one of the YouTube comments pointed out. A recluse is a type of spider, and also the guy was kind of distant from people.
He goes to church every Sunday. That was like the one thing he insisted that they do. So spiders, I don't think that they can just go up to a random person and be like, boom, I have mind controlled you. I think that they have to build some kind of a connection with a capital C, Brandon Sanderson. And so going to church is where you build connections.
Do you remember when the priest came to this house and almost caught fire?
Yes.
How he prayed and something else answered.
Yes.
And then he was told, I'm sorry, it wants your faith. That was the spider.
You think so?
Bro's got spiders in him.
Okay.
Yeah, because what other entity was in this house? Like
we only know spider and fire, so
exactly.
Spire.
So something about the spider or the web, it can trap you in this like world where you can't tell what's real or what's not, and it can control what it is you want. And for some reason, it's really religious.
Apparently.
Maybe it likes that religion can like catch people and hold them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to touch a little bit on what else we know about the spider, both from these episodes and then, like, recontextualizing stuff in Season 1. So, spider, fire, not friends.
Yes.
Spider, bugs, not friends.
Right. Doesn't seem like the spider gets along with anything, as far as I can tell. Maybe it gets along with the body centers. Please, continue.
The spider and hunt might be friends. I can't tell if the vampires are their own thing created by the hunt, which is possible, or if they were created by the spiders. And I think it's possible that whatever Raymond Fielding was making in his basement when he was wrapping people up, I think it's possible those became vampires. This woman was, like, full of spiders, so I assume the spiders, like, hollow a person out and then leave, and then that person walks around and just kills people.
Okay. I think that I think the vampires are of the body horror. They're the same thing as the Bone Turner's tail creature. Not the same thing. We found out in these episodes that some horrors have multiple faces. So Jane Prentice and John Amherst both seem to serve the same entity, and it's actually very interesting the way that they kind of lead you to that, even if John didn't outright just tell you, because the flies/disease episode had both disease and bugs, and then you also have mosquitoes in a lab related to a guy who had a scalpel that was like some lucky totem related to curing disease. So those two are simpatico. So Jane Prentice was the bug avatar, and John Amherst is the sick avatar, but they are serving the same master. So I think the Bone Turner is one face of the monster of the body horror, and then vampires are another face of the body of the body horror.
Okay, I could buy that. Quick fun fact about the scalpel: it is in artifact storage.
Yes, it's in a like a sealed hermetic bag
sealed.
that they can't sanitize it no matter how many times they scrub it down.
Yeah, so that's spooky.
Oh my god, John Saleza is of the spiders. Because I was trying to figure out, he's mentioned as having a knack for finding basically cursed artifacts, whatever they call them in this world. And I was like, is there good magic? Can you do a locator spell? He's not a good person. He's not trying to destroy the artifacts. But if you have the ability to find things that are connected to other things, okay, the spider might be leading him to the haunted urn that steals your memories, and the haunted picture that steals your soul, and the haunted whatever that...
Haunted urn that steals your husband. Yeah, it could be spiders all the way down this season. We have a couple of other relationships that are starting to be clear as a result of these 20 episodes. The lonely horror, the eye horror, and the big sky horror. They all seem to be friends.
Yes, the Daedalus was... Sorry.
That, I was just going to say, the Daedalus was formed by companies that had, like, the Lucas family involved, and then the people who make security cameras for the Magnus Institute. That's weird.
Yeah, it's all scientific experiments, and John said there's nothing remarkable about this company in of itself, but their headquarters are in Ni Alisund, which was brought up in the episode with the lady who went into the darkness cult. It is the place furthest north that is populated by people that's not a research facility, and therefore is most closely associated with darkness.
Oh, so maybe it's not the eye. Maybe it's the opposite the eye one.
Yeah, maybe. What do you mean opposite in that sense?
Well, that was another relationship I was going to bring up, was that we have a no-seeing and we have a seeing. So obviously those two have to be at odds.
The eye horror, you draw an open eye. The darkness horror, you draw closed eyes. And also, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get to the other lore drop when we discuss that episode in particular. What else do we have on our list? Anything I missed? Oh, Michael McTwisty is neutral. He
usually neutral.
Yeah, he basically told John, like, there's a war coming. I want to see how it goes. You didn't know there was a war. I'm not going to tell you anything else. Peace out. Bye.
Yes, absolutely. If he had not interfered, the Institute would be lost and that would cause a disruption. But he did not say that he did not want the archives to be destroyed, not to be destroyed. He just didn't want it to be destroyed right now. Let's schedule something for October and then we can blow this bitch up.
I can't tell if the horrors have some kind of future sight or not. I think they might. I think that's like, why else would the spider know, like, I should intervene at this time to show them where the tunnels are?
Yeah, I think that it is, they can see the movements of the other ones. So if the sky monster does not want the claustrophobia monster to eat John, it might send an aerospace engineer to, like, tackle him or something to get him out of the claustrophobia space.
Absolutely. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about here before we go back to our discussion of the Scariest episodes?
I'm not sure. I'm absolutely positive I'm going to think of something when we move on to another subject, because that's just how the ADHD brain works. Michael Key is back, and he has connections to different books. He goes to a bookseller, and he gets a bunch of different books on, like, demonology, on witchcraft. There's a specific tome that he asks for, and he wants the earliest edition that can be found. He has infinite money, which, as we know, is something that the horrors can do, except when he goes to buy Ex Altiori, his check bounces. So the thing he was worshipping, or the thing that was giving him money, did not want him buying the Ex Altiori book.
There was a spooky, like, ozone monster following him?
Which I thought would be the sky monster.
What else would it be? But he was trying to get away from it, and yeah, it definitely did not want him buying Ex Altiori.
Lichtenberg!
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Damn near Kildenberg.
Okay. Anything else?
Not for, like, lore, things you need to understand to contextualize our discussion of the episode.
Here's something. I came up with another list. We have a column in this Excel spreadsheet. It's called Whomsdt've the Horrors.
I love that.
Some of these episodes, they just directly tell you what the bad guy is, but some of them you have to kind of wonder, and some of them, there's multiple entities. So let's go lightning fast. John goes down in the tunnels, is attacked by a claustrophobia monster.
Which tells him to leave. It doesn't kill him.
It just tells him to leave the tunnels. The one called Grifter's Bone, I have foreknowledge and I know which horror it is, but it's a band that plays music and then people go berserk on one another. And, like, that doesn't sound like a hunt. It doesn't sound like a darkness. It doesn't sound like... I don't know. So I just put question mark, is there a horror related to music?
Is it not like the meat one, since they, like, tore each other apart? You can just say no if it's not.
What do I say if it is?
Yes.
Yeah, it is of that, but the information that you and I have right now, I don't think it makes as much sense as what will happen when we recontextualize it later.
Absolutely. It doesn't seem like meat in the same way that the other meat episodes were explicitly about meat. But
Right.
like you said, what else could it be? And all I could think of was like, well, those people got turned into meat.
Absolutely. We have the Section 31 police officer. She had a run-in with a fire demon. She had a run-in with bugs. And she had a run-in with a man whose head had been shot so many times you almost couldn't recognize it as a head anymore. And he tried to shoot himself again. When they took the gun from him, he cried. And then we don't find out what happened to that person because he was taken by paramedics. But, like...
That episode made me so sad.
the f*** is that horror?
He was definitely one of the, like, I won a game against death and now I'm walking around playing death games with other people.
But he wasn't a skeleton. He wasn't a skeleton.
Neither was
maybe
the main guy by
I
the
see.
end.
So he got turned back into a person and he wanted to die. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I think you have future knowledge.
I don't.
The Russian episode was about, like, strangers. I don't know if we have a name for that. The body snatchers is what I've been calling them. The mosquitoes, obviously bugs. Like, how would you not get that one?
Shrimps is bugs.
The literary heights is the big space because Michael Crew throws himself into the sky. The new door is fractals, Michael literally says. It's him. Lost in a crowd is loneliness, which is strange because she was lost in a big crowd, not lost alone, but it's basically the same thing. She was lost in such a big crowd that she was basically anonymous, so it's loneliness. The butcher's window is meat stuff. I mean, come on, he's called the butcher.
Meat stuff.
The meat. The architect one is mostly claustrophobia. There's a part where he's like, oh, the walls were closing in on me, but then I blinked and they were back to normal, so that's claustrophobia. Underwater, that's big space because Simon Fairchild is there. Exceptional risk, the lights literally go out and someone dies when they touch a thing that they can't see. So that's darkness.
Darkness.
The episode with the old Crusader, it mentions this feeling of being watched. So that's the eye horror. Whatever the frick Gerard Key is about. The taxidermy one is also strangers. And this episode's interesting because Not Sasha goes to investigate the taxidermy place and comes back and says everything's fine. So I actually don't know if she's of the spiders. She might be of the strangers, the body snatchers, which is what I originally thought. And the reason she mentioned to John, it reminds me of a web, is because she's trying to get him to be like, oh, web bad, spider's bad.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know.
But why would she be so focused on it?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe she's trying to figure out how to destroy it. Maybe the spiders is the most powerful entity, and all the other entities are like, we need to can find a way to take them down.
Joel, can I
Yes.
guess which one was the pest control one?
You can.
Ghosts.
No, it was darkness. Oh, yeah. It was bugs for the pest control one. It was ants, and then it was... Do you remember what the next one was? Oh, it was the beehive that, like, came alive and tried to eat him, and then there was the worms.
Yeah, the beehive one was the Prentice apartment. That was
Yeah.
the wasp nest that was in her. I was telling our listeners.
Sorry.
So one person who commented on our last video said that they've never heard of the Magnus Archives before, and this is their introduction. That's kind of cool. I hope
Yeah.
they listen along with us.
Please do. We had... Children of the Night is, like, obviously spiders, but also Agnes is a fire demon. Fire and spiders don't get along.
Also, vampires hunting something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, he mentions hunting and vampires, but they're not in this episode. The guy being lost in space could be maybe loneliness, but it's definitely big space as well. For trail rations, this is one about cannibalism, and I just put on the document ... meat. Like, it is kind of meat related, but I
Yeah.
didn't think that eating meat was part of the horror.
Shrimps is bugs and humans is meat.
Okay. Recluse is also spider and fire. Wait, what? Then what was this one? Oh, Children of the Night was... That's why I got confused earlier, because I got two episodes mixed up. And then lastly, the Observer Effect is literally eyes. You could not miss that unless you were speaking a different language. You didn't know what English was, and you're like, I don't know.
Whomsdt've the horrors,
Whomsdt've
indeed.
the horrors.
If you're gonna get a Magnus Archives tattoo, I'm really tempted to get, like, the eyes.
Why? You don't want to be perceived. The eyes are perceiving you.
Yeah, but something claiming power over it keeps it from having power over you?
I don't think that's true.
Well, maybe
You
not with this.
You should get the big sky, because you're like, oh, I would love to just be falling forever and ever.
No. I don't actually want that to happen. I just thought that was a cozy episode.
You are so weird. You and I have different views on the world, and that's cool. That's what makes the world turn.
Here's something interesting about eye imagery. In a lot of cultures, having an eye, like on a bracelet or something, it's a protection charm, because it can see things that you can't. So a lot of people will, like, get an eye tattooed on the back of their neck so that something is always looking behind them.
Okay.
And I've always thought that was really neat. I've always been fascinated by that. I used to have one of the Turkish evil eye bracelets that my mom got for me when she was stationed over there.
That's
but
awesome.
I lost it a long time ago. It's very sad.
Is fractals the hard counter to eyes? Because the eyes are like, I'm going to try to look at this, and the fractals are like, whoa, 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 infinite recursion. The eyes are like, I'm lost. Oh, no.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It'd make me uncomfortable physically to look at that.
Okay. Do you have any episodes you want to shout out as especially scary?
Okay, the ocean one made me uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah?
I love the ocean, but I am spooked by the deep ocean because she described really well in this episode about, like, at this many feet, light sort of stops penetrating, and you go any lower, and there's no light, you can't see anything. And, like, the idea of being in the dark and anything being there is, like, really spooky, but also you're underwater, so there's no safe escape. Like, she almost died shooting herself back up to the surface.
Right, yeah, absolutely. No, that's terrifying. Mm-hmm. Grifter's Bone's interesting because I can't imagine... I guess if you don't know they're about to play a song that'll kill you dead, you don't know to avoid listening to them, but, like, that's pretty spooky. You're listening to a song and all of a sudden you just go into a murderous rampage. That's pretty horrifying.
Wait a second, I got a quote for you. I mean, they probably don't open their concert with anything like, "We're Grifter's Bone, we're here to sing unholy and incomprehensible noise and make you feel like ripping off your skin and stuff."
1, 2, 3, 4! This song is called "We Hate You, Please Kill Each Other."
Is that girl a drummer too?
Is that girl a death too?
I really messed up that quote. Yeah, the Grifter's Bone one wasn't scary to me overall, but that gut punch at the end of she murdered her neighbor and then took the hammer to herself. I guess she finally got the video to work. Like, damn, that killed me.
I know that in horror people make stupid decisions because that way they get killed by the horrors, and these horrors seem to be able to play on, like, your compulsions and, like, your inability to look away. But she put her phone down to record a band, and then she thought that band's music made everyone kill each other. She thought 11 people all died listening to this music, and she was so scared she ran away and she had to tell someone about her experience. But she kept trying to watch the video. Babe, you're not even trying to survive the horrors. Like, what the hell?
Not trying.
Butcher's Window is scary because it's a man who can literally just, like, pull your bones out of your body at a moment's notice. And he was literally ripping that person apart while he was, like, strapped to a table.
It was, okay, I don't mean to be that person who makes Five Nights at Freddy's references all the time, but it was very, like, I'm trapped in this locker trying not to breathe too loudly while the monster is right there.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Still Life did get me a little bit. They did a good job of capturing the otherness of this stranger man whose eyes were the same eyes as the taxidermy creatures.
That's...
But yeah, I think those are all, like, the episodes that were scary or spooky or effective in that particular way.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I would say I was a lot more intrigued by this set of episodes than I was scared. Like, even the unsettling ones, it was like, I want to know more about this. So,
yes.
I really liked this season. I would say, so far, yes, we've got 20 more episodes, and thank God we're finally recording so I can listen to them, because I've been, like, ripping my skin off, waiting.
That's the Horrors. The Horrors is waiting for the next episode of the Horrors.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, unfortunately, I am very bad at avoiding spoilers. Some might say that I even seek them out in small ways, and then I'm surprised when the spoilers are bigger than I thought they were going to be. Can I spoil something that won't give you any information whatsoever?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the Grifter's Bone episode? She got an email that was like, tonight they're going to be playing, and she was wandering around kind of like looking for someone who was playing, and there was a man who came up to her and was like, hey, be careful about your ears. That man will show up again, and we have seen that man before. You are not going to be able to go back and re-listen to the first 59 episodes of the series, and figure out who this character is. But they're related to something that we've seen before.
Yes. Unfortunately, I do know who he is because I can see your spreadsheet.
No. Wait, what are you talking about? No.
Oh, that's a different spoiler.
There's 2 teeny tiny spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to hear another teeny tiny spoiler?
Yeah,
That's
sure,
not
man.
a spoiler.
Hit me up.
So you remember the Observer Effect episode? She was looking through her brother's stuff, and he had things that were related to other horrors we've seen before. That brother was going to the Magnus Archives, like, regularly to consult with them, and John's like, we don't have any records of this man consulting. The wiki explicitly says that the brother never gives a statement and is ever mentioned by another statement again. He's just gone. He doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
And I just found that so fascinating, because I was like, you literally, like, grabbed us and shook us and said, pay attention to this man, but he's gone now.
He's gone. Goodbye. All right, we are back from our break. So now that we've gone over episodes that we thought were particularly scary, which apparently wasn't many, why don't we talk about favorites? Joel, you seem really excited. Hit me with your favorite episode.
Listen, it would be horrible to be in this situation. I would probably lose my mind. But episode 47, The New Door, is so good. So good. So this is the Michael McTwisty episode. This is a realtor who's showing this house to a bunch of people, and she sees a new door in the house that wasn't there before, and it was on the second floor, and it was, like, facing the wall, so it would literally either be onto a deck or onto a falling to your death. And he goes, what do you think's behind that door? And she goes, what? And she opens it, and then the door closes behind her, and there's all right turns, no left turns. The other time I thought it was the other way. There's pictures up that are of the same hallway, and sometimes it branches into the same hallway. Now, she did mention that, like, apparently different parts of the hallway were different colors, but in my mind, it's all the same carpet just stretching into infinity. And, like, I don't know, man. I really like weird Fae rules, so I really liked this episode.
Have you read any of the short creepypasta stories about the backrooms?
No.
That's kind of like a modern urban legend spooky story.
Well, I know of the backrooms, I just have never read any of the stories.
Okay, anyway, there are people who are hearing things for the first time, but that's what this reminded me of.
Absolutely. And what's especially up about this episode is that she goes to give her live statement, and they do a really good job of showing you what it looks like when the horrors has got their hooks in her brain, because she, like, almost can't talk to John because she's too busy talking about the architecture of this impossible
She's trying
hallway.
to draw this map, and he's like, I don't need it. Just
Yeah,
give
like,
me
I
a
understand
statement.
it's an impossible situation, but you don't understand, it was impossible. What's especially is she comes in, she gives the recording, her statement, that's the word I was looking for. She gets up and she leaves. Sasha says something. Michael McTwisty shows up, and he goes, hey, so that woman is now mine, just so you know.
I just came to pick her up.
And John's like, she already left, you can't get her. And Michael went, do you happen to see which door she went through? Because the door she went through and took her back to the hallway dimension. I feel so bad for her. But what a good... Personally, I like horror where there's like a, kind of like a twist. That wasn't an of surprise or I guess it was surprise. You know, it wasn't, I saw a gross spider. It was, that's so cool.
This season did a really good job so far with the last sentence gut punches.
Yes.
Like...
Absolutely.
Damn. He said something like, the Wanderer enjoyed a brief respite, but that is over now. And, like... Are you just playing with your food, Michael? Or did you want a reason to come see John?
Oh my god, by getting her to escape, she'd go to see John, so maybe he can't enter, he's like a vampire, but a classic vampire, not the Trevor vampires. And so once she gave her statement, he was able to McTwist his way into the room.
Absolutely, because one of his was here. I will say, well, yeah, I mean, if the archive is, or the Institute is under the Eye, like I think it is, then that makes it the Eye's territory. So he would have to have a reason to come in.
Okay.
And I think that's why, like, the worms were kind of trying to burrow in through the basement, and why they messed with Martin first, because now we've got an inn, and why the table and the lighter were delivered, so now the spiders have a reason to be there. Like, like you said, they have Fae rules that they're following. We're gonna piece them together.
Eventually, yes, absolutely. What episode do you want to talk about from your favorite list?
Oh gosh, I really enjoyed the cannibalism episode.
Trail rations.
Yes. So, trail rations, she talks about how her parents had both died recently, and she was pretty much just going to live out the rest of her life alone. And then this man, who is, like, really excited to go west, shows up and stays a few days on her property, and he's like, oh man, I have to get married, because if I get married before I go west, they'll give me more land than if I go by myself. And she's like, I got nothing to do.
Absolutely. And I think maybe you mentioned this. If you did, I spaced out. But remember, this isn't 1845. This is like the Wild West days.
Yeah,
Expansionist, what was it called? Manifest Destiny days.
Yeah, this is the Oregon Trail from the game, The Oregon Trail.
Absolutely.
So, gosh, eventually that's going to be like a cultural reference that, like, the youth don't get. I never played it. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Is there a distraction horror? But she's like, okay, I will marry you. I will go west with you. I might as well. That sounds more interesting than being stuck here. And this guy, I guess, had a lot of big dreams and was kind of a smooth talker. And so she was like, he must know what he's doing. Spoiler alert, he did not know what he was doing. And they end up at a fort just before the actual, like, mountains. And the guy at the fort is like, you can't cross those mountains right now. You're going to get stuck there and die.
Yep.
Yeah. You can winter here if you have the funds and the food, or you can turn around and go home. I don't care what you do. And she and her husband are kind of agonizing over this, and again, he's kind of a weenie. He doesn't know what he's doing. And this other man shows up and says, I happen to be the best guide of the Oregon Trail, and I can get you there in time.
His name is Whomsdt've, and he might also be, I mean, I guess he is of the horrors. He's the episode antagonist, but he might be of the horrors in such a way that he might show up later. Or this might be where he meets his end and he just did a bunch of stuff leading up to this moment in history.
Yes, but Whomsdt've is like, I'm gonna take you out, let's go. She, this whole time, is very suspicious of him, and she keeps emphasizing this, but she says that she just kind of went along with it, because what else was she gonna do? She couldn't get back home on her own, so...
Yeah, her husband was like, I'm absolutely going to trust this man.
I've given this stranger all of our money to take us over the trail. And halfway up the trail, a wheel on their wagon breaks, and then a storm hits, oh no, and the guy goes, there's a cave over there. I happened to find it just now. Obviously.
Also, and I wasn't the one who destroyed the wheel, obviously.
Obviously. And they get in the cave, and the husband goes, oh man, we didn't bring any of the food from the wagon. And he goes, we have all the food we need. And she goes, and that was when I knew he was going to eat us, and that's not great. This badass woman shoots him. She had a pistol that she hadn't even told her husband about, that she was carrying in secret, and she just got that guy.
Husband knew she had it, but there was no reason for the husband to bring it up to Eustace.
I thought the husband was enough of an idiot that if he'd known, he would have said something.
Yeah, maybe.
While she's in the process of shooting him, her husband dies. He gets his throat cut. And then as she's writing this letter, which has ended up in the Magnus Institute's archives, her husband's dead body is talking to her, begging her to eat him.
Why don't she be part of something greater? She has a lot of religious allusions. I want to circle back to that in a second. But she basically believes that even if she dies here by refusing the call, she will be welcomed into Jesus's/God's open arms. And I don't know if Christianity is true in the Magnus Archives universe, but she definitely resisted the horrors. So if there is a hell, if there is the horrors have claimed you, I'm pretty sure she did escape because she had stronger faith than that. Two things to note about...
We assume that she died without ever eating her husband, because she said she wasn't going to.
Yeah, she said she was going to go out into the cold, and she knew she was probably going to die, but that was her choice. And I choose to believe... God, if there was a later episode that's like, yeah, I gave in to cannibalism and became an immortal monster, I'd be really upset with her. I choose to believe that she made it out. Or I choose to believe that she died, but dying was the better option for her. Two things of note. One, Jonathan Sims, he specifically points out that this was not in the Magnus Archives archive. This was in Jonah Magnus's personal collection. And he even ponders, how did it end up in that collection? When Jonathan Sims says, I wonder, that's the author saying, pay attention, because this is a mystery. So Jonah Magnus was apparently out in the Wild West in 1845, or eventually found this at a later date.
He was, in fact, an international man of mystery.
100%. I wonder if we could track the last time someone wrote a letter to him, because I think in 35 someone wrote him a letter saying like, oh, my haunted doll ate my finger or whatever. But yeah, how did he get to Americas? How did he know to find this one specific cave?
Or did somebody send it to him?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing to note about this episode, like I said, the speaker, we don't ever learn her first name. Her last name's Carlisle after she marries Benjamin. We don't find out her first name. She's very religious, and she's talking about how, she's going to be welcomed back into the Lord's arms, and she heard that there's no empty bellies in heaven. And I appreciate that anytime they do an episode that is from Jonah Magnus's time in the world, they always have like a stronger relation with religion, because back then more people were religious. And of course they were. They didn't have Netflix. Netflix gives us all the entertainment you need. Without Netflix, you have to turn to God.
Have you read the part in the Bible where it talks about idolatry?
I have no idea what that means. Like, don't, like, go to K-pop, like, music festivals type things?
That was the joke I was about to make,
oh,
yes,
okay.
Was that Netflix has given you a modern idol in the form of a K-pop star. No, in the Bible, they got bored of following Moses' rules, and so they built a giant golden bull statue, and they started praying to it and sacrificing babies to it or whatever, and Moses was like, that's bad!
And Moses was the one who split the Red Sea.
No.
What?
Yes.
He was,
Yep.
yeah.
I was getting him mixed up with Noah.
Ah, yeah.
But yeah, I really liked this episode. I am a sucker for cannibalism out of desperation style stories. I heard about the Donner Party when I was a kid, and I was like, that is so fascinating. Like, I couldn't stop reading content related to that for a little while. And I think it's just, like, humanity's innate drive to survive. And do you have what it takes to survive or not? And it is fascinating to me, like, the idea of that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I'm looking over all these different episodes, and none of these episodes were bad, but I don't see any that are really like, oh my god, this is like, I really liked it, because a lot of them were more, I'm interested in the lore, right? John exploring the caves was not I guess it was kind of interesting, but like, I don't know, not a lot of these gripped me the way that Anatomy class did, New Door did. When we finish all 200 episodes, I'm going to try to come up with like my top 20 or my top 10 or something like that.
All Magnus Archive episodes ranked.
Oh my gosh.
Clickbait episode. If you can't think of one, I'm going to talk about the taxidermy episode.
Okay.
Loved the taxidermy episode. First of all, it was just really funny to me. Second of all, the main character was such a cool dude. He was like, I'm kind of a weird-looking guy, and I work for Britain's version of the IRS, so I shouldn't judge. So I try to be open-minded. And I went to this taxidermy shop, and I thought, man, these are kind of creepy. And then I went, shame on me. I shouldn't be judging. Perhaps this is an engaging and worthwhile pursuit. So I tried to talk to the proprietor and meet him on a level playing field.
Yes.
And like, what a cool guy. What a nice guy. And I honestly think that's why the horrors didn't get him, because he just so powerfully resisted the urge to be spooked. He was like, I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to.
Absolutely. There's also the fact that he surprised them with his strength and his determination to live, like you were talking about, when he just shoved the taxidermy out of the way and he avoided the two burly Cockney delivery men. It's my boys! It's Breakin' and Hope!
It's ya boys, Breakin' and Hope. I have since sent you a clip of the henchman from 101 Dalmatians. Do you now understand what I was trying to say?
Now, here's the problem.
Where?
The reason... It's right here. It's resting on my left thigh, specifically.
Thighs?
Yeah, like you put something in your lap. Like that's where you put like your tray, if you had a tray with food on it. If you're sitting.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. You're looking at me like you've never put anything across your lap before.
What? No,
that's a perfectly normal place
you pulled out your left thigh, and then I said thighs because I'm your wife. And thighs.
Because you are the only person who knows that I'm actually a delicious bucket of chicken.
Exactly.
And so by talking about my thighs, you know that that's where the succulent meats are.
Listen, Joel.
Yes.
My drive to survive is high.
Oh no, better hope that we don't run out of food. What were we... Here's the thing about Breakin' and Hope being represented on my left thigh, Patricia. So the thing about the henchmen from 101 Dalmatians is they were drawn to have opposite body figures because it's animation. You want your characters to be, their silhouettes to be unique, distinct. Breakin' and Hope, I will only accept if they're as tall as the tall henchman from 101 Dalmatians, but as wide as the wide one from 101 Dalmatians. That's the only way I can accept them.
Okay, absolutely.
Also, in my head, one's dress is red and one's dress is blue, because I just think that they're the modern-day Onis.
Fair enough. They would say the word boodle, though.
Yeah, of course they would.
We got plenty of boodle. Okay, I just wanted to establish that, like, that was good call on my part, now that you understand.
Yes. I, speaking of Brig and Hope, want to talk about the Tightrope episode.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can be done talking about the taxidermy episode.
I didn't know what else there was to talk about. Go on.
First of all, we're going to talk about the tiger from the Tightrope episode
well, that's what
in
made
just
me
a
think
minute.
Of it. Yes.
Oh, look at you. Look at us go. But it's interesting to me that, like, these taxidermy animals were kind of alive, but they weren't alive.
Yes.
Like, they all turned to look at him at once. I think they were going to pull a Coraline and replace his eyes with the fake eyes and then, like, send him back out into the world. Also, there was a human face in the basement.
No, wasn't there a rabbit down there that he mistook for a human face? Or was it a human face?
He saw a rabbit, but then when he went in the basement, there was a face that I think he described as not quite human. And it said something like, "We've got plenty down here." Plenty what?
No, I think it was, "We've got more down here. We've got more taxidermy to show you." It was the anglerfish kind of luring him in.
And this guy, this brilliant genius man, went, "No thank you," and left.
Yeah.
So, like, the secret to surviving the horrors is first, be a pretty positive, good person. Don't be judgmental so that you don't get too spooked. And second of all, just leave. If shit sucks, hit the bricks.
Absolutely. I also appreciate that he kept making Alice in Wonderland references. I don't think that there's the implication that Alice in Wonderland is of the horrors, but, like, maybe if you
gonna tell me a Bandersnatch is a real not horrific thing to say?
If you go to, that's where the Bandersnatch is from?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Beware the Jabberwock, my son. Beware the...
Okay.
Anyway.
Jabberwock is also from Alice in Wonderland. I'm learning so much. My cultural upbringing was playing Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64.
And every day I think about physically fighting your mother.
But here's another thing. Sorry, this is going back to Not Sasha. Not Sasha is going to a wax museum. What does taxidermy and wax museums and dolls and mannequins all have to do with one another? They're all the uncanny valley. And maybe I would not have come to that conclusion if I didn't have foreknowledge, but also it makes perfect sense. The episode with the woman who discovered her grandfather's dolls said, like, "I don't have any problems with dolls. People look at statues, so what's the difference?" And the difference is that dolls are creepy. And the Circus of the Other had some stuff that was kind of like, oh, that's kind of strange and not quite of me. So I'm really positive that Not Sasha is not spiders. She is other because her boyfriend is also, like, when you look at pictures of him, somehow it always looks like a stock photo, according
I just
to
assumed
John.
that it was a stock photo. That Not Sasha had, like, taken her face from. I didn't think she had a legit boyfriend.
If she has a boyfriend, it's another not person, just like, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Did you know that when I was a kid, I was terrified of dolls?
Really?
Yeah, I had these, like, you know, like, the fancy, like, China dolls with the hyper-realistic painted faces? I had some of those that somebody had gifted me when I was really little, and I was terrified of them. I wouldn't let them, like, be facing out when I was going to bed. They had to be turned to look at the wall.
Oh.
And at one point, my dad was like, if you're scared of these, we should give them away. Like, there are other children who would probably like them. And you were
probably like, I don't want to be rude.
No, I was like, those are mine.
What?
You can't give away my things.
'Twas the tism, my lord.
But yeah, I was terrified of dolls. I believe it stems from the same Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode that made me afraid of ventriloquist puppets. And that the ventriloquist puppet wasn't even the bad guy of that episode.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I didn't read any of the Goosebumps.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
What? Sorry, I was thinking of the ventriloquist doll from the Goosebumps.
We should talk about the scariest episode of Buffy sometime, but not right now, because this is not a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode.
Okay.
I'm ready.
You are ready
to move
on to the Tightrope
episode.
So first off, this is the first Gertrude episode that we get. She mentions the Circus of the Other, and she mentions like, oh yeah, the circus got less violent after blah-de-blah left. I should have wrote that character's name down. So she clearly knows the history of this circus, and she clearly knows that like one character was like particularly brutal or something like that. First off, there's a part with a clown beating up another clown. And the speaker is like, hey, listen, I've seen clowns at circuses before, and they do, like, slapstick and satire and wordplay. This was just one dude dressed as a clown beating the shit out of another. And she described it, and my brain went, wait a second. The violent clown that beat up the smaller, weaker clown. Just like in the wild, right? The big clown beats up all the small clowns to assert dominance.
The big clown is big. The little clown is little and small.
Let the little clown cook.
The little clown just wants to make cars.
God, you're going to have to find that YouTube poop, and I'm going to have to put it in the description of this video.
You don't have to.
I'm going to. I want to, Catherine. But, so the Circus of the Other was mentioned in the Strange Music episode. The grandfather that died in that episode was the organist for this episode. This episode mentions a big steam organ. So it's the same one. It is. He had a collection of dolls, and one was a clown that beat up other turned them into dolls and then ripped their jaws off, which I think is pretty violent. It was wearing the same white and lavender, white and pink white and purple polka dotted outfit. So that either the clown got turned into a doll. The doll is like a voodoo doll, so there's both a doll and then the human-sized clown, or the doll is a stand user and the clown is the stand.
Oh my god, the clown is the stand.
Please watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but really, really fast.
Yeah, I think the grandpa, when he left the circus, or maybe before, I think he trapped the clown in the doll. And that's why it was in his attic.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
He was like, the violence has gone too far. I'm gonna take care of this, but oops, now everybody who gets close to Grandpa is getting clowned.
Time to go to Clown Town, and that's not as sexy as it sounds. The other thing, this is my episode to talk about. Don't you look like you're about to add something to the commentary? Look, you can just let me get my thoughts out the way that I let you get your taxidermy thoughts out.
Absolutely, man. Go ahead. You're good.
So this circus, they already mentioned there were strongmen in the circus in the first episode where John found a picture of them, but there were specifically 2 strongmen that were like completing each other's sentences. Like I think she said the words seemed to flow between them. My boys, bringing in hope!
Why have you imprinted on these delivery men?
Because of the episode when they delivered the lighter. Excuse me, got a sign, got a book, got a lighter for your boss. Here, take it. Take this paper. Sign for it, please.
Yeah, the words were flowing between them.
Yeah, it's just so good. Plus, I mean, if you squint really hard, you could imagine them as the Mario Brothers. And who wasn't raised by Mario 64 as a small child instead of reading Alice in Wonderland and the Bandersnatch and the Jabberwocky or whatever? Anyways,
you read the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, right? Like the Chronicles of Narnia.
It was read in class, like in 3rd grade or something. Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize that the lion was Jesus, and I know that's a funny thing to say because obviously the lion is Jesus.
You weren't raised religious.
You have to remember. I had to consider for a moment earlier when you said Moses. I, honest to God, had to be like, which one was Moses? He's the really cool one. He wrote the first 5 books. He wrote the 10 Commandments on a piece of paper, and he split the sea.
Paper?
Yeah, on like
on
a really
stone
on
tablet?
a thick piece of paper, and he was also the one who led the people through the desert. I think possibly for 40 years. See, I know stuff.
Yeah, you know stuff. I'm gonna jump in here really quick because I want to make a comment about the lion being Jesus. First of all, there's that very funny meme about C.S. Lewis being like, if people don't get that the lion is Jesus, I will die. My dad shaped a lot of my behavior, and that's why I like to come on this podcast and tell people my opinions, or did you notice this thing? But he got me the whole Chronicles of Narnia box set when I was a kid, and when I finished reading that first one, he was like, did you notice all these similarities between Aslan and Jesus? And he was very excited to tell me about that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's another couple of interesting things about this Tightrope episode. There is a tiger that the main character, the speaker, runs into, and it seemed to be able to roar without opening its mouth. And you made a connection to the vampires. Do you want to explore that really quick?
Yeah, so the vampires can put ideas in your head, but they don't talk. And they're kind of off. Like, they don't seem like full people from the way
Once
Trevor
you pay attention to them, yes.
described them. This girl finds this tiger in a cage, but the tiger is wrong. And she says that it roared, but it didn't open its mouth. She heard the roar in her head. So I thought maybe the vampires were made the same way this tiger was made. They say that the tiger isn't finished yet when they kind of usher her out of this back room space.
Yes, and there is a tiger mentioned in the taxidermy episode. I think that you mentioned that, and when I was re-listening to these episodes, I was like, oh, wait a second, is that the same one? An observer effect, which is the one whose brother seems to have been like an honorary Magnus Archivist, he had... Hang on. Oh no, I didn't write it down. Anyways, I seem to have not taken proper notes, but she mentions like 3 specific things that she found. One was animal carvings made out of bones. Animal bones are a thing from Mary Key. One was like an eye that was in a bag, I think, so that it can't see out. That reminds me of something else we've seen. And then the last one was like a taxidermy or something. And so I was like, oh, is that... They're all related. All of these things related to one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that was important from this episode, the statement giver had a brother, and when she gets ushered back into the main area of the circus, she doesn't know where he is, and her family seems too engrossed in the circus to comment on it.
They're like hypnotized, yeah.
But they look up, and he's on the tightrope, and he's sobbing. Like, he's very visibly upset. But he makes it all the way to the end of the tightrope, he gets down, and they leave. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if bad things happened to the rest of the village, but she said that, like, she and her brother, who used to love the circus, never asked their family to go again.
The village never spoke of those events. Basically, no one ever went back to the circus as far as I know. Her family certainly didn't. And also, she asked her brother about the nightmares, which happened yearly, right around the time that the circus last visited, and he can't remember what happened at the circus, but the dreams are of him being very high up. What's extra interesting about this is at the end of her recording, Gertrude remarks that Ivan must have been something truly special. So,
because he survived walking the tightrope.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, some people just have that magic shine that protects them from the horrors or something. I don't know. Or some people have the ability to overcome the horrors, and that makes them special in some way.
Yeah, I like to think I would be one of those people, but don't we all like to think
we all like to think we would be the...
I think you're a little more honest with yourself than I am when it comes to things like that. You'd be like, no, man. I am crying and pissing right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the tightrope episode?
I don't think so.
All right, I would like to talk about the sequel to the serial killer episode. I really loved this episode.
Episode 52, Exceptional Risk. Sorry.
Crash. Something I've mentioned before is that I'm very close to my dad, and he and I have a lot of, like, conversations about, like, big ideas. And one of the big ideas that comes up a lot in talking to my dad is this idea that once you start to see people as animals or as dangerous, like, it's really hard to deprogram yourself from that. So a lot of police officers, they get into this mindset of, like, everybody is a potential suspect. Everybody could potentially be committing a crime. And then it's hard for them to engage with anyone in a, like, respectful and kind manner because the nature of their job sets them up to treat people like they're not people.
Gosh, there's no way that could be topical in today's political environment.
Not at all. I don't know what you're talking about. Never been politics on King of the What Now. But this isn't King of the What Now.
You have to say King of the What Now.
King of the what now?
There you go.
Absolutely. So this episode is about a prison guard who works in the prison for the country's most disgusting sexual criminals.
And violent, but a lot of them were sexual in nature.
No, he explicitly says that the serial killer guy normally wouldn't have come to this prison because his crimes weren't sexual in nature.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a Wakefield prison. It is a prison for sexual crimes, specifically, like, really, really awful ones that require intense isolation. So, like, he's reasonably a little bit hateful when he talks about these prisoners, but he's taken it to such an extreme extent that they are animals to him. That's what he says.
When he gets let go at the end of the episode, he basically becomes abusive and his spouse leaves him. And it sounds like maybe he wants to reconcile, but just like he's the stereotype of like a violent bully who abuses their authoritarian power.
Absolutely. And I'm not trying to make excuses for that when I say that, like, I get where he's coming from.
It's just it's a hard he's in a place that's hard to crawl out of. It's hard for him to look at people like normal people again.
Absolutely. I feel like this episode really humanized someone with that worldview.
Yeah.
But he's in this position, and Robert Montague comes to prison, and he's like, I knew this was going to be a problem. People have to kind of posture. But the first guy who tries it, the guards kind of let him go ahead because, like, everybody needs to be beat down a little on their first day in the prison. But turns out Robert Montague is not one to be with, and he just breaks that guy's arm.
He's basically the Winter Soldier, just like, you come at me, I'm going to disable you. He doesn't seem to kill people. He seems to figure out how to, like, put them down as quickly as possible, but, like, people really don't like him.
Right, and he's never the aggressor. Like, people start things with him, but he's kind of quiet. And our statement giver says eventually, like, he never denied his crime, so I almost started to like him. This is a place where everybody's innocent, and it gets grating after a while. They open up a special unit that is even more isolated. It's the Exceptional Risk Unit. And after this unit is isolated, Robert Montague gets a visitor. It's his friend, Maxwell Rayner. You may remember him as Detective Rayner.
Well, supposedly, right?
Supposedly detective, yeah. He called himself detective in that other episode. He has cloudy eyes that make him seem blind, but he doesn't have a cane or a dog, and it seems as though he can see Robert, is what the statement giver says. And all he says is, did you think you could kill it forever? After they glare at each other for like an hour.
They glare at each other, the lights go out, and in the complete darkness, all the prison guard can hear is, did you think you could kill it forever? Did you think it would stay away forever? So, I'm sorry, do you have anything else that you want to say about the episode?
Yeah, sure. So he says, do you think you could kill it forever? He leaves, the water is bad for a while, and then the lights go out, and Robert Montague dies.
He gets, like, stabbed 47 times.
He does, in fact, get got.
The speaker, and another prison guard are making their way through the darkness looking for, to make sure that all the prisoners are okay, even though the power went out and whatnot. And he gets separated from the other guard, and the other guy goes, hey, where are you? And he's about to say, like, don't move. And then the other guy goes, oh, I found you. And our speaker goes, he wasn't touching me. He wasn't where I was. And he just died. Just the life fled out of his body, and he just died because he touched whatever the heck the darkness monster was.
There were wet meat sounds. I thought that guy survived, but was, like, injured. Because Robert Montague definitely died.
I thought that he just collapsed. I thought it was the Rick and Morty scene of, like, what was that death? What kind? Instant. But the other thing, I think I covered this when we reviewed the first serial killer episode. I got the impression that he wasn't killing because he enjoyed it, or that, that was just the kind of person that he was. I got the sense that he had to do it to maybe protect his daughter, maybe to protect himself. His wife died, and I think that that was kind of like a warning sign to him. But now that there's a guy who hates him and is associated with the darkness, I think that Robert Montague's wife was in the darkness cult.
She had the necklace.
She had the necklace, and then she left, and they killed her, or they need sacrifices every 5 years or something. He got so mad that he went out and hunted them, because if you kill all the worshippers of the darkness, that might get rid of it.
So that was my idea. Yeah, it was not the wife part, but that he was systematically hunting down and killing members of this cult. I do think he killed his wife. I think she was in the cult and she was one of his earlier victims. But that's why he would have told his daughter, like, it's almost over. If he knew how many people there were, he could make sure he got them all.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about him killing his wife is that she disappeared in the middle of the night, and the daughter had to wake up the dad, and the dad was, like, shook by it.
Yeah.
So I think that was the inciting incident, and I think he was just like, you know what? I've read a couple of Punisher comic books. I know how this goes.
Absolutely. No wonder Maxwell Rayner was mad, though. He killed all the dude's cultists.
You killed 46, 47 of my men and women.
Those were my cultists, you son of a bitch. No, I really liked this episode. Somebody in the YouTube comments points out, like, the writing is really spectacular for this series, and this is a good example because you look at the tone of the first Robert Montague episode that was written from the perspective of his daughter and how she talks about him versus the perspective of this prison guard, and, like, they're describing the same person, and you believe that they're describing the same person, but the vibe you get of that person is completely different because the voice and the perspective is so different.
100%. Do you think that you've said all that you have to say about this episode?
I do.
I want to use that to segue into the episode Crusader, the second Gertrude Robinson episode from this collection. The voice acting for the old man who is giving the statement, incredible.
Oh, it broke my heart.
I don't know if they got an older gentleman to voice him or if that was voice acting from someone who's younger, but, like, he really did talk like someone from World War II and someone who got a little PTSD, shell shock, whatever the correct... He would call it shell shock, but that's not what we call it nowadays. I also just really like this episode because Gertrude was a fucking badass. Okay, let's give a slightly higher description of what happened. This man in World War II, he ended up in a city and he fell down some stairs. Now he's got these records on his hands. He fell down these stairs and he found himself in, like, some kind of, like, library-ish kind of area.
And he just couldn't stop.
He just couldn't. But there was a grate made of bronze. And I don't know if you remember, but in episode 1 or 2, I made a big deal about the fact... It was episode
Brass.
2. What did I say?
Bronze?
Oh. Yeah. Anyways, that metal seems to have special properties. Gold seems to be one, and brass seems to be another. Brass or copper. But he ends up in this place that has books. It has the smell that lots of books were here and they were, like, decaying over time. That reminds us of a couple of other places that we've seen throughout this series, throughout different periods of history as well. How very interesting. But there's a creature that has, like, a hood over it, and all you can make out is an eye, and he escapes from there, and ever since he's kind of had this sense of being watched only when he's in archive places, only when he was in that place, and only when he came here to make a statement. And it was an eye-related imagery, and John wonders if that thing might have been it too might have once been an archivist.
Oh, that was another gut punch line. Like,
yes.
That was so good.
Gertrude being a badass, though. So this guy says, I was in this general area. I saw a library. And Gertrude's like, have you ever had that feeling of being watched again? And he goes, yeah, actually right here. And she goes, oh, okay, I have a couple of questions to ask you. It can be off the record, though. I'll end recording. And then John goes, you know, I looked up the date of the recording, and then 6 months later, in the area that the guy described, there was a bombing. There was an explosion.
That killed 12 people.
Yeah, it killed 12 people, and it was attributed to being a gas leak. But I wonder, Gertrude was a goddamn Carmen Sandiego James Bond running around Molotov cocktailing these places. She was fighting the horrors.
I want her to be my grandma so bad. Amazing. Any other episodes you want to call out as your favorite?
I don't think so.
Okay, we are getting a little long-winded. Shocker. I've never met us before, so I thought we would be succinct and, like, brief with our discussion. Why don't we talk about any more quotes, details, or lore that we think are important that we haven't brought up yet? And then we can run through our notes from the Archivists.
Okay. John goes down into the tunnels. He gets lost. He runs out of... His torch almost runs out of light. So then he goes back down. He's more prepared this time because it's a labyrinth down there. No, a labyrinth is built with a purpose, even if it's to obfuscate. But this seemed to have no pattern to it whatsoever. he started drawing chalk arrows to get back to the archive. Now, it is entirely possible that these beings are creatures of immense knowledge that we cannot even begin to comprehend. But if there's even a possibility that they can be confused or misdirected, John, you're literally pointing directly to the archive. What are you doing? But
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
God damn it, John.
Sasha specifically marked the floorboard, the entrance to the caves with caution tape. Now, we know that Sasha is not Sasha, and we know that Sasha is of the horrors. But isn't that interesting that the entrance to the caverns were basically invisible, and John would not have been able to find them without some kind of a marking, and she, out of the goodness of her heart, just decided to, let them know, hey, don't go down here. There was a set of footprints going to the worm door that were left there before John got there. And also, there was an episode where John's like, someone went down there because I think the door was ajar or something like that. So, someone else is interested in the caverns. I think they're all interested in the caverns. I think everyone's sneaking in there and they're all pretending like they're the only one.
That's gonna be so funny when John was like, I caught you! You've been going down there! And Martin will be like, yeah, Tim and I have been checking it out!
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's gonna be like Spider-Man standing in a circle.
Yeah, I imagine it's John goes down there and he bumps into Tim. Tim, what are you doing here? What are you doing here, John?
The worst part about suspecting that not Sasha will be revealed at the end of this season is that, I feel like John's gonna be like, I did it, I uncovered the traitor. But no. No, you didn't. Because if Sasha was the traitor, she wouldn't have gotten got.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, Oh, no, I think that he's smart enough if he caught not Sasha and he figured out when the switch happened. I think he'd be able to be like, that was before Gertrude died, though.
That if is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
That is true. Really quick, when he goes underground into the tunnels in that first episode, he finds a prison called the Millbank Prison, which is a real prison that was built by a real architect. The details that John gives are true to history. Except for the parts that are obviously influenced by eldritch creatures from beyond our human understanding. But he brought up that it was created to try to mimic the effect of... What's the name? Oh no, I didn't write the guy's name down. Paul Bentham, I think, who designed the Panopticon. And this is something that I do actually remember from high school. The Panopticon is a thought experiment about a prison in which the guard tower can see into any cell at any time, but it is obfuscated so that none of the prisoners know if they're being watched. And the theory is, if they think that they're constantly under surveillance, even if they aren't always being watched, they will be on better behavior. But that is very eye-coded. So, just wanted to bring that up.
That is very eye-coded. I actually had a question, and maybe you connected this later in your notes. Millbank Prison, is that the thing that the other guy in the later Architect episode was working on?
I don't know if I didn't check that out. It might have been. I don't think so. No, because, yeah.
Because he did have a brief conversation with Robert Smirk, and he was like, that guy.
Yeah. I didn't like that episode because I'm too stupid. Listen, most of these episodes, they go, hello, my name is Bob. I had a friend named Alice. We got attacked by a monster. And you're like, okay, there's 3 people here to remember. There's Bob, there's Alice, there's Monster. But this one was like, yes, my name is Architect, and I was the understudy of this architect who's actually best friends with Robert Smirk, who had another understudy. I'm like, who are all these people? But basically, there are haunted architects. There are just people who are making deals with devils. There was a guy who got pushed into a wall so that only his fingertips were showing out of there because he was, quote, too idle. And the monster that got him was called, quote, the Governor.
Oh.
Very interesting. Very Bloodborne, in my opinion.
Very Bloodborne. Just never trust a man who wants to build a building. Why do you need a building there? What's wrong with trees?
Absolutely.
We should probably talk about Hasina. Is that her name?
Basira.
Basira. Yes. I apologize. Basira is John's new best friend / girlfriend, if Tim is to be believed.
John has found... So there's a Freedom of Information Act related to the archives, kind of, sort of. It's part of the world building, but it's not part of the real world, where if you see something that is basically supernatural, the police officer signs a form that basically says they're not allowed to talk about it in an official capacity.
Yeah, so the law is if there was a crime then it's not, the records of it aren't under the Freedom of Information Act.
Right.
So they sign something that says everything I saw was connected to an ongoing investigation so that nobody can ask them about it.
Right, but that's the explanation you put on paper, but what it actually means is that people sign a paper whenever a supernatural thing occurred, and then they can't talk about the supernatural thing. And if you sign one of that, everyone else constantly makes you do all of the other supernatural stuff.
Because nobody wants to be the one to have to do that.
And Basira tells a very interesting story. She tells about 3 confirmed cases of paranormal activity. They're not called paranormal, they're strange or weird or odd. And John goes, what do you mean, official? And she goes, well, people come up to us and they say that they encountered something that was supernatural, but we can't confirm it because there's no evidence. Who knows if they have a spooky clown doll or if they have a door that mysteriously locks every night at 2 a.m. So, like, she's having the same experience that John is. Lots of people who have stories that have enough evidence that you believe them, but no way to follow up or do anything about it. What are you going to do about the mysterious door that appears? Unless it appears, you can't do anything. And once it appears, all you can do is go inside and then you're trapped.
Don't
Michael
go to the door.
McTwisty gets you.
Absolutely. So she is his contact in the police now, and she's providing him with the Gertrude tapes because she does not have a way to play them yet.
She also works with someone else who signed a Section 31, or she's part of Section 31, whose name is Daisy, who talked about vampires. And I think that Daisy is the woman with a scar under her eye mentioned in the Taken Ill episode.
Okay. I love your note. John is spying on Tim. Creepy. He's not being creepy. He's just making sure everybody is safe.
Yeah.
You mentioned Gertrude not liking eyes, but you didn't elaborate on that. John breaks into her apartment, which hasn't been re-rented yet for legal reasons, and he finds that the eyes of every picture on, like, all of her books has been cut out.
Only on the covers, I believe. But yeah, it's anything that would be outward-facing that has an eye, she's cut the eyes out. So she knows what's going on. And also, she had a laptop, which is very interesting because the way that John described her, he didn't think that she used technology that recent. The laptop is gone, but there is a Gertrude laptop out there. This is so Gravity Falls, and I love it. Do you want to just talk about the traitor discussion and John's investigation really quick?
Yeah, let's go over that. John has followed Sasha and gone through her desk.
Yeah.
And he mostly just found that she's a weirdo.
Yes. She goes to the wax museum every couple of days. During her lunch, she claims she has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend is a weirdo, is a not quite human-looking thing. Martin was lying to everyone, but he was lying about the job experience that he had. He was poor, and he did not have schooling, and no one was hiring, so he just lied on his resume, and that's what he was really guilty about. What about Tim? What's suspicious about Tim?
Is a bisexual king. I don't think that came out during the investigation.
No, it did.
Oh, it did. Okay.
John said something about he has a contact. He has a contact that is one of the men who work the day shift and a woman who works the night shift. And John's like, I don't want any interpersonal drama coming into this archives. John, you're on a podcast. You're in an audio drama. These kinds of shenanigans are going to happen.
Absolutely, but man, I love Tim. Tim is also suspicious because he had a really good career. Why is he here?
Yeah, he was at a publishing company, and he did nothing related to the paranormal, and then he just kind of showed up here out of the blue. I think that if you work at a publishing company, you might see people bring in nonfiction works or things they claim are nonfiction about monsters from beyond the pale of human understanding, and you might want to investigate them. But John hasn't made that connection. He just thinks it's suspicious. And lastly, Elias.
Our boy.
Elias is unmatched as far as theoretical knowledge of paranormal stuff goes. John explicitly says, unmatched knowledge of paranormal. And then he kind of pauses. Theoretical knowledge anyway. So I think that he knows a lot of academic stuff, but he's not good at dealing with it in person. He apparently was a stoner when he went to college, and then he just suddenly, got on the straight track, and he, was promoted to head of the Institute after, 5 years of working
He's
there.
the youngest head the Institute has ever had.
Yeah, so there's something weird going on with that, but he's a very slippery fellow. And in the intervention episode, when everyone's like, John, something's going on.
Oh yeah, they had an intervention in episode 60.
John says, one of you could have killed Gertrude. I need proof. It doesn't matter how much I want to believe you. I need proof. And Elias just so happens to have the CCTV footage. There are no cameras in the archives, but there are around the premises that establish an alibi for everyone. How convenient that Elias was able to produce these right when John was getting suspicious and demanding proof, and how convenient that it shows that everyone is free of guilt.
How convenient. It's not like there's tunnels that somebody could have entered in somewhere else and come up in the archive. Surely not.
I think, too, that's the idea that, you see Elias go in the morning at, 8 a.m., and then he leaves at 5 p.m. or whatever, and he never leaves in between there or whatever, but, I really don't understand how John can conclude that they're all safe from this evidence, especially since we know that footage can be altered. We know the eye horror can, with screens and stuff.
Who is currently at the top of your suspect list?
I mean, Elias is the standout, right? It's not Sasha, because she only replaced Sasha recently. And Martin and Tim just seem harmless. I do suspect that there might be more to Tim than he lets on, because the seemingly stupid character in these kinds of mysteries always have more going on than you think.
Well, and someone who's manipulative enough to set up relationships with, guy on the day shift, woman on the night shift, so I always have police information, that's suspicious.
Yeah. Also, John, how do you not notice that not Sasha? She admits to staring at the spiderweb table, and you know that that's how people get replaced, so how does he not suspect that? But also, her computer has crashed 3 times in the last 2 months. John, you know that the horrors interfere with electronics. How are you not seeing this?
Oh, that reminds me. The original guy who got, when he was obsessed with staring at the table. He would stare at it once a day, and then he got by whatever creature. So the table is definitely related to the getting got.
In some way, yes, absolutely.
It caught them.
I think that's the 3rd time you've made that pun to me. Twice in our private off-mic
Well,
lives.
as long as I haven't already done it on the podcast, everyone else can think I'm very clever and interesting. My suspect list, I'm challenged here because Elias is particularly suspicious, and I think it makes sense for it to be him. I can come up with a compelling narrative behind why and how and when and what for Elias, but it feels too easy, and I can't tell yet if this is the kind of story where the writers are trying to trick me or not. Some writers are have this very easy thing, haha, just kidding, it was this over here. And the pieces were all there in retrospect, but they weren't the obvious pieces.
I think that there will be a twist, but it could be that it's obvious who did it, but not why. So if there is going to be a twist, and Elias is the one who did it, I think the twist is going to be he did it because Gertrude was going to kill someone, or Gertrude was doing something that was going to unleash the horrors.
Gertrude kept bombing other countries and wouldn't stop. Also high up is Martin. In the episode where John explores the caves, he explicitly says, "Martin, I'm sorry if you hear this. I've been going behind your back to explore the tunnels." So we know that Martin was John, do not go in those tunnels. But somebody's been going in the tunnels, so suspicious that you would try to prevent him. But it could also be just genuine concern for his welfare.
I'm fascinated that you are aware that people ship 2 characters, and you do not take that into consideration at all. Because the second John was Martin is trying really hard to make sure that I'm safe, I went, oh, that's why people ship them. Because Martin is John, don't hurt yourself. He's being the concerned wife at home who's telling her soldier husband not to take too many risks on the battlefield.
Look, I don't know what to tell you. I am on the ex-male wife Elias train.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, all of Martin's, being overbearing and protective, to me, immediately feels like the seeds of romantic relationships.
It's just normal father-son things,
It's
Joel.
more normal father-son things.
Normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when they start kissing. Nope, I'm not making that joke. Moving on.
Abnormal father-son relationships.
Yes, if nope. Anyway, so Martin's up there.
If John goes from father to daddy, that's when it's going to become an abnormal relationship.
You're just so pleased with yourself, aren't you?
I'm trying to guess what you were not going to say. Please, go on with the actual podcast.
Oh, I lost my train of thought now. Thank you, Joel. Yes, Martin. Like, it would be overprotectiveness that turns out to be suspicious, right? Like Sasha being like, we don't want any more of your paranoia. That's not because not Sasha is concerned for John. It's because not Sasha wants to get away with doing stuff.
Yeah. Well, and... Okay, so I have come to the conclusion that Sasha is definitely of the body snatchers. But if she was at all related to the spiders, it would make sense that she would tell the obviously paranoid person, stop being paranoid, because it would be reverse psychology to get him further ensnared in the web. Maybe the best way to catch a spider is to put something else on the web, watch the target, and when the spider goes to get it, you squash the spider. Maybe that's what Sasha's plan is. She's waiting for something to try to eat John, and then she's going to put a gun against its temple and be like, eat this, mother flipper.
I used to collect funnel spiders in jars when I was a kid, and they'd build their webs in a funnel up the jar, and you could drop, like a cricket, into the mouth of the funnel, and you could see the spider, like, shoot out and grab it and pull it back down in the funnel, and that's cool.
Blah. Blah.
You and I would not have been friends.
No. I mean, I try to be cool about it, but, like, if there's one thing that gets a physiological reaction from me before my brain even has a chance to, like, rationalize it, it's bugs. It's anything that crawls.
You just have a set number of legs that you find acceptable. No legs, not allowed. Snakes, you don't like that. Too many legs, not acceptable.
It has to be within a certain range of legs.
So, like, 2 legs is fine.
Right.
4 legs is fine.
Yeah.
6 is too many.
4, it also depends. If I saw a dolphin with 2 legs, I think I would be quite frightened.
2 human legs? That's uncomfortable. Like, I'm imagining them as very muscular.
It's just doing, like, squat thrusts and looking at you like... dolphin noises. Or if I saw a man who had 4 legs, like his arms were legs, that would be a little uncomfortable.
Is that a centaur?
No, I think that's a flesh crab.
Did you know horses run on their fingers?
Yes.
I just think that's so horrifying, but neat. That's body horror. Horses are body horror. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at with the hunt for the spy. I suspect Martin a little bit. Really quick, I want to call out when John was facing Michael, he tried to attack Michael with the knife he bought to go down into the caves, and he ended up stabbing himself somehow. It got twisted.
That is one weakness of the audio-only format, is all you hear is Michael say, are you going to try to attack me? And then you hear, ah! And so, like, yes, you can fill in the blanks, but I also think that it's sometimes... you need to find a way for the audio to convey stuff that people would ordinarily not say. You're going to get the Joey Wheeler situation, right? Where in the manga, you had to have a character commenting on what was happening in case the viewers didn't understand it. I've got 3 really quick memes that I saved that you sent.
Okay.
First off, we already explained that Tim thinks that Basira, the Section 31 cop, and John are dating. And this comment on one of the videos says, local bisexual thinks asexual boss and lesbian police officers are having an affair. More at 5.
That is a lavender marriage I could get behind. I like the John Basira team.
Absolutely. John, we don't destroy knowledge. Gertrude, bombing what remains of Alexandria Library.
That was from user @LunaSolemn0.
Okay. That first one was for Marinao, 4412. And then from Clarizame09.
Clariza.
Oh yeah, Clariza. Clariza May 09. Archivists, hold up big sign with red letters that say intervention. John, you don't mind if I record this, right? Archivists, remove cardboard on sign to reveal about your paranoid recordings.
Somebody pointed out in that episode that the episode's title is Observer Effect, and the Observer Effect is, of course, when you observe something, you change it. And they said, what if Sasha needs John to stop trying to watch her? Not Sasha, because she can't act while he's paying attention. She can only act when he's not looking.
Well, oh my god, that's so brilliant, because that's how the anatomy class children worked, too.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, the guy in his notebook wrote keep watching over and over. The thing could only move when nobody was looking.
Faye rules. Faye rules.
Absolutely. This seems like as good a place of any to put in our notes from fellow archivists.
Yeah.
We had a comment from @NPC Ra on our first video. They were listening to this as their introduction, haven't heard of the Magnus Archives before this video, and were sending us love. So thank you. I hope you watch it. It's so good.
Yes.
It is
also, you could listen to it as well, because it's an audio-only format.
Oh, you haven't seen the animated version that I've been watching on YouTube?
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Could you imagine if you got, like, the Let's Make Some Noise animators to do stuff for this podcast?
That would be great. We also got a really cool long comment from @AstreasAstro13. They really like watching other people experience the series for the first time, which I think is how every Danganronpa fan feels about watching other people play Danganronpa.
Yes.
Some series, like, there's just that inherent joy in seeing somebody else go, oh my gosh, those are the pieces.
One Piece. Absolutely One Piece.
Right. You already mentioned this, but they told us that the fandom refers to the writer as Johnny and the character as John, and whoops, Johnny regrets naming the character after himself, apparently, which is kind of funny.
Yes.
I also would regret that, I think, because some of the fan art's got to get weird, right? And then if they're sending it to him and it's got his name on it, like, I don't know that I'd want to see that. Martin's actor is the director and co-creator.
Yes.
You already mentioned about Gertrude's VA being Johnny's mom, and then a lot of the names are allusions to other famous horror authors.
There was one in there that someone was going to be named something. I think it was...
Sasha's last name was supposed to be Stein, because the real Sasha... That's her favorite horror author, is R.L. Stein.
I see. Did it say why they didn't go through with that?
No.
Okay.
Just that they didn't. And then the other thing that they said that I thought was really funny was apparently when this was, like, at its peak, they'd crash websites when a new episode dropped because so many people showed up to download
It's
it.
Homestuck. It's, It's
Yeah.
all sorts of amazing things.
I think that's sick.
Okay, really quick.
If you have stayed with us this long... Thank you so much. I should start putting a secret in after the 2-hour mark, and people who collect the secret get a story, because, like, you are working hard.
All right, Catherine. I want you to give me 3 numbers between 1 and 20 inclusive. So 20 and 1 are both available options.
17.
Okay.
8. 4.
Okay. So episode 64 is called Burial Rites. So that's going to be a claustrophobia episode, just hands down. It has to be. It can't be anything else.
That's gonna spook me.
Or it could be because we think that death might also be one, but death hasn't gotten a lot of play in the last 20 episodes.
Maybe. It'll be the graveyard dimension.
Oh, yeah. Let's see, 8. The Tale of a Field Hospital. That's probably going to be like amputees and stuff.
That's gonna be
my
war
guess.
again.
Yeah. War seems to be a common place to meet the horrors. Who'd have thunk it? And then 17, episode 77, The Kind Mother. What do you think that's about?
That's gonna be a disease one, I think.
Wait, hang on.
People love Munchausen's by proxy.
Are you kidding me? Okay, which episode was this? 50 or 77? Yep, tags include emotional abuse from a parent, paranoia, unhealthy romantic relationships, and cheating. So...
But not illness.
No.
Good.
Episode 77 is The Kind Mother. Episode 78 is Distant Cousin. And then episode 79, Hide and Seek, and episode 80, The Librarian.
Is this a set of stories about John's childhood?
No, it's going to be a family of not people, I think. That's my guess. And we already knew that the not people were going to be important because of not Sasha. Who, if someone were to get got at the end of the season, it can't be Sasha, because she's already got. Who's getting got?
Tim.
It's Tim?
The horrors could seduce him.
There's no love horror, as far as I know.
Come here, sexy himbo. I'm not scary. Don't look what's under my shirt. It's not spiders.
There was that one lady who was Bugs who seduced that one guy, so maybe Tim will get bugged. And that has been your final thought. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Well, friends, all journeys must end. And now today's journey has finished, and we must bid you goodbye. We hope you have a good day, we hope you were kind to those around you, and we'll see you again. If you want to contact the show, you can do so at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com. You can leave a comment on our YouTube channel or rate us on your podcatcher of choice.